Hello? Hi, how are you? Yeah, I'm doing alright. Just back in the building. When Pokémon X and Y came out, people were borderline battering down Game Freak's poor little drywall offices asking for more Mega Evolutions. And as soon as Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire were announced, yeah, they were coming. It has been 11 years since those games came out, meaning as of the time of this video, Mega Dragonite is the first new Mega Evolution in 11 years. And everyone's very happy about it. What's this? But Paul, what's Mega Evolution? I'm getting a crazy sense of deja vu. Hold on, I think I have a tape somewhere with your name on it. Yeah, let's put that on. To TLDR the lore of Mega Evolution, Professor Sycamore in Pokémon X and Y suggests that Mega Evolution originates from stones imbued with the light of Xerneas or Yveltal, but that's just one theory, as the Draconid people of Hoenn who worship Rayquaza believe it comes from them and meteorites. People can work with Pokémon to reach this stage by using a keystone, held by the trainer, and a Megastone formed for that specific species, the only exception so far being Rayquaza, who ate a bad fruit gummy in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Together, the stones unleash a massive amount of energy that could power a rocket, so needless to say, putting all that on one little guy is ethically dubious. What are you talking about? Oh, right, Season 2 of the Mega Evolutions. Silly me. Back in the day, we low-key knew they were coming thanks to Mega Blaziken's existence and Mega Latios and Latias being unavailable in X and Y. In Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire though, Mega Evolutions were a bit more accessible, so you were really able to build that bond with some of X and Y's and some of the new kids on the block. But who are they? Do they even go here? Well, let's take a look and see if they hold up conceptually against the first Mega Evolutions. Maybe they push the mold. Maybe they matter just a bit more. Maybe not. Let's take a look at what creatures, cultures, and myths may have influenced the designs of the Mega Evolutions from Pokémon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Before I get started on sharing my incredibly well-researched slides, you can check out the X and Y Mega Evolutions in their own video. There were a lot of these things, so it felt best to split them up so it'd be nice and organized in my little mind calyx. Bonk bonk. And if you want to see my video on the Mega Evolutions from Legend ZA, when will you learn that pull bags can't time travel? Let's get into it. I see we're starting strong here. What possibly could have inspired such a unique, never-before-seen design? Well, not a cryptid. I couldn't really find a wasp or bee that wasn't just the sheer concept of killer wasps or bees, so let's have a little word lesson instead. In Chinese, bees and wasps were once called the same thing, feng. Over time, it's been understood that feng was also used as a simile to compare the stabbing of a lance, such as in the book of Lord Shang or Taoist text by Lao Tzu. So if their designer, Hitoshi Ariga, understood this double meaning, very clever of them to change Beedrill's spears to lances. Wow, another incredibly derivative design. At least the origin might be fun. While Pidgeot is based on a fusion of birds that are absolutely not pigeons, Mega Pidgeot's blue feathers in addition to yellow and red bring traditionally Egyptian influences in, leading me to believe they might be based on Horus. He was believed to be the sky itself. The sun and the moon were his eyes. He supposedly manifested as a falcon and just kinda took it all in. Very laissez-faire. Hey, did you know Beyblade's back? Beyblade's back. Mega Slowbro is based on a Baygorma. They're what Beyblades are based on. But what's that? Exactly. Well, Slowbro and their family resemble a few different creatures, like a weird fusion between otters and hippos. As a concept though, it wouldn't surprise me if they're a mix between the Sazai Oni, arguably beautiful snail yokai, and the Kenmon. Not quite that. Mega Steelix is a more scientific upgrade. As a design, it's clear that compression has caused the minerals in Steelix to turn into diamonds. As a funny little creature though, Steelix could be inspired by the Stolworm, a burrowing dragon from European folklore with a beast-like face, traditionally cat-like, and if that ain't a face only a mother could love. Now the interesting thing with Mega Sceptile is that Trico is very clearly a little gecko guy, with little gecko traits, but these are lost through the evolution chain as it becomes more dinosaur-like. The most likely candidate would be that Sceptile is based on the real-life interpretation of a Dilophosaurus, not the one Jeff Goldblum had to deal with. Mega Sceptile brings a nice fusion to the table though, as due to them being able to shoot off their tails, this ties in with the prehistoric ancestor of the gecko, the Ixtatosaurus. that was easier to say than I thought. An ancient lizard whose tail has been found with missing vertebrae, a clear sign of being able to detach their tails. Realistically, Mega Swampert takes the light sumo influence from their base form and turns it up to 11 with their stature and shape of it all. The most likely homage would be to some of Japan's greatest sumo wrestlers. As a sumo, Mega Swampert is particularly light at around 225 pounds, which was the success story of wrestlers like Chiyonofuji, Totsunoumi, or Taiho, who focused more on fighting techniques as their advantage. As a creature though, this mudfish is probably based on the Namazu, an earth-shattering catfish yokai. Oh, look at the little man! Look at the little face! That's a goblin. Traditionally, goblins are kind of an umbrella term for all sorts of creatures as well as their own right. Personally, I think Sableye is most like an imp or a hobgoblin, but the most apt folktale for Mega Sableye's big old rupee is possibly a Dutch fairy tale called The Goblins Turned to Stone. I would summarize the story, but I don't want to patronize you, because I'm such a sweetie pie. Using the ruby as a shield is probably a reference to D&D, or something, like it's hardly original. Cute though. Mega Sharpedo. It's Sharpedo.
More!
Look, I don't know if you can tell so far, but most of the Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire Mega Evolutions are more about the cool factor than anything else for me to get my little grubby mitts on. And that's fine. That's okay. It's not like I expected any better from the Friday the 13th shark. Anyway, Sharpedo is a torpedo shark head that turns into a saw shark, but it might be possible that, other than plot reasons, Sharpedo got a Mega Evolution to represent the many sightings of the Megalodon throughout the decades. A giant shark cryptid. Bulbapedia thinks it's a motorboat, but my doctor said if I stretch too hard, there'll be problems. At first, you could be inclined to disregard Mega Camerupt as a design, but did you know there are stories from Arizona, USA describing the Red Ghost, a ghost sat upon a camel that roams the deserts? The logical explanation would be due to the importing of camels just before the American Civil War, leading them to being abandoned or sold off. Alternatively, Mega Camerupt could just be inspired by one of the many famous volcanoes, or just Maxie's OC. Your pick. Altaria's actually a really fun one. See, the name itself comes from Altais, or Delta Draconis, a star in the Draco constellation. But as a creature, they take inspiration from two distinct Chinese mythological creatures. Peng, a giant bird with cloud-like wings who would fly to the Lake of Heaven, and the Fei Long, a dragon species that flies upon clouds. So what's special about Mega Altaria? Hat. Glalie is a walking, talking pun. They're a hockey goalie, but also an Oni. Their Japanese name is Onigori. Onigoli. Great. Oh, and it doesn't stop there, by the way. It's also an Onigiri. Because of course it is. Anyway, back to the Oni part. Mega Glalie might be pushing that concept towards Namahage, figures who have several interesting theories behind their origin. They could be messengers of the mountain gods. They could be religious practitioners training in the mountains. They could be the demons who failed to build 1,000 steps in a night. Anyone's guess, really. I would like to first and foremost thank Roaring Moon for their existence, because the name alone means I can tie Mega Salamence to the Bakunawa. While Salamence doesn't exactly eat any moons, the iconography alone ties itself to the Philippine moon-eating dragon quite well. One story of the Bakunawa speaks of how it fell in love with a human. However, the leader of her tribe found out and razed their village to the ground. This drove the Bakunawa to eat the 7 moons in the sky as vengeance against humanity. Just before eating the 7th moon, the deity above stepped in, banishing the dragon to the sea. It's said that lunar eclipses are the dragon's attempts to return to the sky. Alternatively, some Chinese mythology references how dragons caused blood moons themselves, meaning Mega Salamence might just put on a show every now and then. Have you ever heard of the Antikythera mechanism? This is an ancient Greek device that is believed to be the first ever analog computer. Parts included the first known set of dials, scales, and radiographic images in what we can guess are fragments of gears. While the system isn't complete, it's pretty cool how Mega Metagross might represent what Pokémon has interpreted as the completed system. What's this? Is Paul about to go off about his favourite legendary Pokémon again? Yeah, what about it? They're nice! Latios and Latias represent the Gnostic angelic beings known as Eons, acting in pairs as a syzygy. It is believed that Eons were split beings from the holy plane of Pleroma in order to carry the holy will of God. So Megalatios and Megalatias might not just be purple because yay, primary colours, but could represent their existence as one in another life. Okay, who's next? What was that? No, seriously, what was... Is that a crack? What do you mean? That isn't even made of glass, and why is it so hot all of a sudden? And what's that light all about? Oh, yeah, that would do it. Look, I know that Primal Kyogre and Primal Groudon are not Mega Evolutions, but like, come on. Come on. The fact Primal Kyogre and Primal Groudon exist is most likely a reference to them both being based on two ancient biblical creatures fated to end the world with their fighting, the Leviathan and Behemoth. These more twisted primordial forms aren't just retcons. They really push that idea that these two are world-ending beasts whose rage was foretold from time immemorial. They are the inevitable as they fight one another through an endless rampage until Yahweh, the almighty deity, intervened. Speaking of intervening... Rayquaza! How's it going? Nice ribbons. So alongside the Behemoth and Leviathan, there was also the Ziz. Just as the Leviathan had domain over the sea, the Ziz looked after the birds in the sky. They were also known as Renanin, a celestial singer or seer, which may have influenced Pokemon's interpretation to have this ruling role as the third member of the trio. Look, I'm not saying Rayquaza's an emissary of God, but like, we've all seen the cutscene. And this glow-up as Mega Rayquaza definitely has that deific imagery with the golden streams and more ornate imagery. There aren't a lot of Mega Evolutions for the Sinnoh Pokemon, so the fact that Lopunny was picked as one... interesting. Lopunny themselves seems to be based on a generic Lop Rabbit. I'll be honest, I really tried. There aren't as many cryptid bunnies as you'd think. My first instinct was because of that new fighting type, it could be a reference to jackalopes as warrior rabbits, but there's a distinct lack of... antler? I mean, the new fluff shape might be them, but again, doctor, stretching, no good. For another potential idea, have you heard of the Hare, the Hound, and the Goat Herd? In Odo of Cheriton's telling of this Aesop's fable, a hare and wolf agree to fight, but the hare manages to exhaust the wolf with their quick steps alone. Maybe it's that. Maybe not. Maybe they're Fran from Final Fantasy XI, I don't know, man, I really tried. Hi. Okay, let's put that bias away. Gallade obviously shares their main design with Gardevoir. However, they take more influence from gladiators, and thanks to Mega Gallade's cape, superheroes. If we take the multicultural ambiguity of Gardevoir, it could be that Gallade is equally ambiguous. Possibly an elf swordsman or warrior of some kind from Norse or Germanic mythologies. Perhaps from Alfheim, the home of the Light Elves in Norse cosmology, an ethereal warrior who brings blessings of health, prosperity, honourable sacrifice, and... oh, the bias slapped down. Ordino's Mega Evolution finally brings them some proper medical equipment with that stethoscope and lab coat, but realistically they could have ties with Istra, a pagan Anglo-Saxon goddess of fertility who provides light and healing, and may also be the origin of the Easter Bunny. Yeah, it's Ordino, but...
More.
And who might this pretty thing be? Diancie had the unique position of being the only Pokemon introduced in the 6th generation to get a Mega Evolution. And, oh wow, that Claire's joke I wrote originally was really bad timing. Okay, so Diancie is based on a carbuncle, a creature that has had many different incarnations throughout the years due to the first sightings being subject to... really bad storytelling. All that's set in stone though, badumtush, is that jewel on their foreheads. In Chile, they are regarded as guardians of metals. In Brazil, they are prestigious creatures. So I guess now that I see it, those could be weasel ears, I guess? I don't know. To me, they'll always be rock card captor. Wow, look at all that education that just happened. Do you feel educated? This wave of Mega Evolutions were definitely... something. I couldn't really find as much of a through line as I could for X and Ys, but that's okay. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire themselves are a love letter to the 3rd generation. So I think it's only natural that each of the Megas are just as much of a love letter to their concepts. Before I go, I just want to reiterate that the connections I've made today are purely speculative and all for the purpose of sharing stories from different cultures. And I know for a fact I was stretching on some of these. But it's all fun and games. right? Are you looking forward to me taking a look at the Mega Evolutions from Legends EA? Have you checked out my usual Pokemon lore videos? They're pretty fun background noise. As always, leave a comment and subscribe to see what I get up to. And maybe, just maybe, we can see each other again.